Hi, Jenny here, and recently I went to see a symphony in my hometown and it was conducted by Daniela Musca. And she said something that I found really interesting. Like before she started the orchestra performance, she talked about how amazing it is to have an audience listening to classical music and really encourage the audience to listen to classical music in this age of Netflix and fast short content that really like sit with classical music and try to listen to what people are trying to say through this medium. And I thought that was very impressive and brought up a really important point. I mean, of course, I have acknowledged this idea of people's attention spans being awful and like struggling with actually sitting down with medium, whether it's a TV show, movie, or music. So I thought I would challenge myself by only listening to classical music for 1 week. So today is Tuesday, and I started this challenge yesterday. And my goal with this is to, one, listen to the classics, of course, but also try to listen to a lot of women composers and musicians from marginalized groups, because the classical music industry is still very predominantly white and male. So I will try with this experiment to challenge that as well. So yesterday on Monday, I listened to compilations from Ophelia Wilde on YouTube and some of the EPs that Ophelia has released on Spotify. And I have listened to these playlists while reading before, so it was a really nice experience. However, I do have my worries because some of the way that Ophelia Wilde communicates online seems a bit odd to me. It feels very, how do I say this kindly? It feels generated. It feels like it's AI, because in the Spotify bio it says that I only exist in your imagination. What does that mean? On Instagram, Ophelia tried to say that like the version that they present of themselves online is not what their real life is like, which I understand, but Ophelia Wilde has never actually responded directly to the question like, are you AI? However, they do release their own music, piano songs, and at least to my ear they haven't sounded like AI. So the jury's still out. Okay, so you and I read Sense and Sensibility this morning. I know if you have been following me on my Bookstagram account, Jen's Cosmos, you probably think that we've been reading this forever. And we have, for obvious reasons. I had pneumonia, as I will say many a time on this channel. But we are almost done, yeah. And while reading this, we listened to piano music from Ophelia Wilde. And it was really sweet. It was really calming to have that music on. We often have some kind of piano music on the background while we read. So that was a really lovely experience. I will try to film these kind of log inserts every day, but I'm really bad at vlogging, so let's see what happens. But yeah, first day it has started well. Okay, just had my dance lesson, of course. That's the only place where I physically can't just listen to classical music because it's a jazz show dance class. But walking there, I did listen to more Ophelia Wilde. I really enjoyed walking in that winter landscape and having piano music in the background. Obviously, during the class, one of our warm-up songs is Beyonce's Already. So that's really fun. That's the only Beyonce I'm getting this week. But yeah, day one in the books. And then this morning while reading and writing, I listened to Isata Mason's album Summertime. I really liked the album. I thought it was very strong and had so many interesting elements to it. Another day, another vlog insert. Today is Tuesday. I'm listening to Isata Mason's album Summertime, which, okay, it's February, but I was really intrigued by this album and I thought the cover was beautiful, so I thought I'd give it a listen. It is absolutely beautiful. I listened to the album while reading Middlemarch. I read 2 more chapters in book 7. Look how close to the end I am. Oh my god. And now I'm gonna start writing. I also listened to this album of some like Ukrainian compositions played by various orchestras and musicians. That was very, very interesting, very appealing, very strong, and like massive in sound. Alright, so let's see how the rest of the week goes. I think I've started pretty well. Okay, so last time I filmed, I updated you on Monday and Tuesday, and now I will update you from the rest of the week. So on Wednesday, I listened to more Ukrainian composers. I found this YouTube video that had like different sections for different compositions. There were older compositions, newer, there were some orchestral performances, choir performances, and it was really lovely to have it on in the background. At this point on Wednesday, I was struggling a little bit. I missed pop music, and my mind would play different pop songs, like in full, like Beyonce songs, Cheryl Lloyd, Swagger Jagger. I don't know why that one came into mind, but those lyrics kept playing in my head. Because I wasn't listening to pop music at all, my brain was still like, nope, we're gonna think of the lyrics and have them repeat in your mind completely. However, I do enjoy listening to classical music while reading. So it's the evening of Wednesday. Today's classical listening while reading, because that's apparently all I do while reading Sense and Sensibility, which we finally finished. We listened to Ophelia whilst another playlist. Those are just very convenient to put on in the background on YouTube. So while I have my worries if this person is real or not, it is very convenient. Then I've been reading Minun Ukrainani by Maxim Fedorov. The title translates to My Ukraine. The author is a Finnish journalist with Russian and Ukrainian roots, and basically talks about the war that is going on, people's experiences of it, his own experiences in Ukraine. It's been really good. And while reading this, I listened to more of Ukrainian composers. I found a whole playlist on YouTube that featured Ukrainian composers and orchestras. So yes, I tend to listen to classical music while reading. I feel like it's the most natural moment during the day to listen to classical music. But I gotta say, my brain is craving pop music badly. My brain, like, I keep having songs playing in my mind, like pop songs. This morning it was that song Torn by Natalie Imbruglia. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I haven't listened to that song in like a decade. My brain is struggling real bad. But overall, I think it's going quite nicely. So on Thursday morning, I listened to Florence Price, who was considered to be the first African American female composer. And basically, she had been lost to history. Her compositions were suddenly found from her estate after her death. I personally did not know about Florence Price. Well, I don't know much about classical music either way, but I had never heard of her. It's thanks to an Instagram account that I follow that I had heard of these many female composers in the first place. The account is called Taiteilijanaisia. They post in Finnish. It translates to women artists, and they highlight women artists of history and current moment to show light to these amazingly talented artists who just people didn't care about because they weren't men. So I'm really thankful to that account because I have learned so much from them. One of them being Florence Price. And I do really like her compositions because they are very complex. There is a lot going on. Okay, time to finish book 7 of Middlemarch and listen to Florence Price. Okay, I have finished book 7 of Middlemarch, and I also listened to Florence Price for a little bit. I thought her compositions are incredible, really varied in sound. Like sometimes you feel this very soothing feeling, and then you feel this very strong sense while listening. Florence Beatrice Price is considered to be the first African American female composer, so it is really important to celebrate her legacy. Then on Thursday afternoon, I actually went to my mother's for the rest of the week, and on the way there we listened to Jon Batiste's album Beethoven Blues. I have actually listened to this before, and I feel like it was very fitting for a drive. My mom lives a bit further away, so having an album that I already knew of and recognized was really nice to have in the background while driving. And I love Jon Batiste's music. His album We Are is really amazing. It was nice to hear his interpretation of Beethoven. I did not film daily vlogs while I was at my mom's because I wanted to focus on being there, but I did continue listening to only classical music there. And right when we were driving there, we read the news that a notable Finnish composer, modern composer, Ilkka Kuusisto, had passed away. So when I got home and had some time to myself, I listened to his compositions. I thought they were beautiful. They were very distinctly Finnish. I don't know how to explain this, but the sound of it felt very much like a Finnish landscape, if that makes sense. So on Friday, I listened to Emilia Maalismaa and Emil Holström, who are Finnish musicians, and I listened to their joint album where they played Richard Strauss and Amy Beach. Emilia Maalismaa unfortunately passed away last year. She talked a lot about misogyny and sexism within classical music spaces. She called out the white male dominance of Finnish classical music and overall, which she was really brave for doing, and may she rest in peace. I absolutely loved this album. The album included violin sonatas from Beach and Strauss, and then included Erika's violin playing, and Emil is a pianist. I don't know, it just felt so vulnerable and delicate and wonderful. I really loved that one so much. On Saturday, while reading and writing, I also listened to Louise Farrenc. She was a French composer, one of the great ones, and notably, once again, I learned about her from Taiteilijanaisia Instagram account. Apparently, she had asked for equal pay, compared to male composers, and she wasn't given it. But later on, when she made her masterpiece compositions, she was given that equal pay, which I think is so amazing that she fought for that. And I have listened to Louise Farrenc's music before thanks to this Instagram account suggestion, and I really love it. Again, so complex and so varied and so touching. But it was so funny because I was listening to Louise Farrenc, and then my mom came into my room to say something. She's like, I think my phone's ringing. She went to check. No, it's not ringing. And it was my Louise Farrenc on the background. I didn't even realize it. But yeah, I really enjoy Louise Farrenc's music. But on Saturday, again, I didn't listen much music. I don't know, there was a lot going on. So those two were the only ones. And on Saturday I also felt this, like, I miss listening to pop music. I need to hear a Dua Lipa song, but I can't. I was committed, okay? Then the last day came, Sunday. And since it was the last day, I just listened to everything. I listened to Emilia Maalismaa and Emil Holström again. I listened to Farrenc again. I listened to Sibelius. Listen, I am Finnish. I am from Finland. Of course I had to listen to Finlandia on this little challenge. And some other compositions. I was actually surprised to see that there was a Spotify playlist. This is Sibelius. Like, this is Dua Lipa, this is Beyoncé, and then this is Sibelius. I liked Sibelius's music. I also listened to Chopin. Now, I know that he's very loved in the classical music world, and I can see why his compositions and the orchestral pieces that I listened to were really delicate and lovely and relaxing and so deeply moving. Like, I understand why people love Chopin's music. Okay, so my main takeaway is that I do enjoy classical music. I'm glad I did this challenge, but never again. Listen, restricting to just one type of music when I do love listening to music throughout my day and in my daily life. It was hard. It was hard. And while sure it made me appreciate classical music more, I now haven't listened to any classical music in a while because of how much I listened to it last week. But I will include it in my daily life more. I especially like to have it on while I was writing or whenever I read a book. One disappointment during the week was that I wanted to see what it would have been like to go to the gym and only listen to classical music, because I've started going to the gym, but then I got pneumonia, and basically I then couldn't do it last week because of my health didn't allow it. But I think I might try it some other time. So I think my main takeaway is that it's good to like try things that you wouldn't normally do. However, restricting other music completely was just not good, because the most random pop songs kept playing in my head and I couldn't get them out. Okay, so I think that's my main takeaway. I appreciate classical music. I think it's so complex and there's so much to find, especially female composers and composers from marginalized communities. I will continue to look for them. And I again want to shout out Taiteilija Naisia on Instagram if you are Finnish. They bring up such important information about the history of female artists. Okay, if you want to follow me on Instagram for my book updates. My book Instagram is Jen's Cosmos. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!